Thanks so much. Nick Rogers. I work in the Department of Community Planning, Housing, and Development. I'm a principal planner on the comprehensive planning team.
Great. Thank you, Nick. So yeah, today we're kind of in the beginning stages of the low residential study, kicking off some engagement, and it's going to be kind of happening, through from now and through 2026. So the focus of today is really to provide information about the study, what it's looking at, kind of why the county is undertaking this study, and then how people can participate and engage in the study and provide feedback. So, and then really we just want to see, what questions or concerns, people might have in the community, or, any thoughts you might have. So we do have a short presentation, but we definitely want to hear from you all, or if any questions you've heard in your, maybe from your neighbors or with your civic association, that kind of thing. So Nick is going to kick it off for us. And sorry, okay, so someone's still having a lot of echo, so I'm going to go ahead. A couple people are not muted, so yeah, I'm going to mute, and I'm going to mute myself as well because Nick is going to start us off here. So hopefully that will help.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Eileen, thanks so much. I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. So in February of this year, the county board adopted a charge that directed the county staff through the manager's office to conduct a study that would recommend limits for their consideration of maximum impervious area requirements that would be included as an amendment to the county's zoning ordinance. And the explicit goals, the objectives that were encompassed in that charge were really focused on two types of outcomes: better outcomes for stormwater management and for the county's overall tree canopy as well. So the charge outlined several factors, considerations, areas to include and account for in the study, and areas to not devote time to as well. And so and these are verbatim. We haven't. These are literal cut pastes from the board charge. So number one, should the county keep those the existing requirements in the zoning ordinance related to lot coverage? So number one. Number two, should the study or should the recommendations include some requirements related to plantable area, minimum plantable area requirements, contiguous plantable area, again, specifically for tree canopy? Should there be adjustments to yard or setback requirements, again, to increase the opportunities for tree conservation and planting? And then last but not least, factor in the lot size and the zoning district within which an individual lot is zoned for. So we have a variety of different residential zoning districts, and they each have some similarities, but some nuanced differences between the two. And so the scope of work wanted to reflect that. So actually, I think Lauren, I jumped the gun a little bit, and I might have given a couple answers. I think we have our first, our second trivia question. Could you post that poll for our attendees today?
Yes, so everyone should be able to see it now. Yes.
Yep. So the board's charge directs the county staff to conduct a study to do what? And we'll see. And I guess I should, Lauren, I'll go ahead and answer the poll myself. There we go. There we go. Okay, couple other responses coming in. I think we have a couple folks who haven't muted their microphones, and so if you could mute your microphone as you're coming into the meeting, that'll help reduce any echo or other noise for others who are listening on the previous for the presentation. So yeah, so that board charge is hyper focused on setting limits to impervious area. Can understand why impervious area and lot coverage almost synonymous. They sound very intuitively crossed over with one another. We'll go into some of those nuances in a moment. Focusing in on impervious surface, what the heck is that? What do we mean by impervious surface? Another jargon term amongst many jargons in local government. Just I don't like reading this from the slides, but I'm going to do it here just because it's so important. What we're talking about is any surface material that significantly impedes or prevents the ground from absorbing water. It's as simple as that. And so a variety of different examples, some pretty straightforward, a roof, a parking space, concrete, asphalt, but even things like compacted gravel and compacted dirt. And these terms and this definition is coming from our stormwater utility. And this is how Arlington County defines what impervious surface is and is not. And so those recommendations from the board charge are asking for the study to consider impacts to property owners and their use, equity considerations, the back end administration and enforcement. If the board takes action on the recommendations, how will is there a permitting process? Is there, how will members of the public know that these new limits are being enforced and maintained overall? So other different considerations that we'll be thinking about in the study. And then things that are outside the scope of the study include changes to any zoning requirements related to main building footprints, maximum height limits, changes to the existing lot coverage or requirements, such as setting an absolute limit on lot coverage or other potential changes to the lot coverage definition. We're really in new territory with establishing new limits for impervious area, and there are really three main reasons for that. And so the first of those three reasons is that our existing regulations are not as effective as we need them to be for limiting that overall creep in impervious area that we've been seeing over the past decade plus. So a good example of this is a lot of us see in neighborhoods new home construction. Sometimes that's an addition to a home. Sometimes that's a complete tear down and rebuild. And when the total project would disturb a minimum of 2,500 square feet of that land area, the property owner and the project must go through what we call the LDA process, the land disturbance application process, and as part of that, any new impervious area is going to be the property owner must show mitigation efforts to control that water quantity and quality, and to ensure that stormwater is being managed. But anything below 2,500 square feet, or anything that the zoning ordinance doesn't encompass in our current regulations that are in this space, things like patios, lead walkways as well, those are functionally unregulated. And so we have some loopholes to close and to be more comprehensive when it comes to how we're managing and addressing impervious area. Lauren, before I go to slide 8, should I do that poll question now, or should I advance to slide 8?
I have a poll from one of the last slides that I'll launch now, and then when we get to another slide, I'll launch the next one.
Okay, perfect.
So which of the following are examples of impervious surface?
Okay, a lot of all of the aboves. Five responses for all of the above. Yep, house as well. Building, a house is a building, so the house would be in there. Yeah. Okay. Lauren, folks are hanging in there. They're listening. I haven't lost them yet. So I mentioned the one of the primary reasons, update and modernize some of our existing regulations related to impervious area. I mentioned that impervious area certainly countywide has grown over time. This is planimetric data that we've tracked from 2009 through 2021. You can see that steady increase over time. Additionally, we've moved, of course, to the stormwater utility data that is even more accurate than what we're seeing here. And so overall, we know that impervious area is increasing over time, and there are associated harms with that Eileen's going to be talking about. And then finally, the third thing is that that increase in impervious area, we're seeing that coming, perhaps not intuitively, in our lower density residential areas with some of those home improvement and construction projects that I mentioned. And so when we look at that land disturbance activity permit data and see which types of projects have been showing an increase in their impervious area, the majority of those projects and the total acreage from projects, it's coming from one family detached houses, again, in those residential R district areas. So Eileen, I've shared a couple of areas on why the county is doing this study. I'll turn things over to you to focus more on those low density residential areas themselves.
Great, thank you, Nick. Yeah, so again, as we talked about sort of some of the background on why we're doing the study and why the focus is, as it's called, the low residential study, why we're focusing in these lower density areas. They actually account for about half of all the land in Arlington, and it's really the main areas where we're seeing increases in impervious area. That's where we're kind of getting those larger percentages and increases of an impervious area in our lower density. And those owners, those areas are have been more affected by loss of trees as redevelopment is occurring. But in addition, this space is also really important for kind of our future, stormwater mitigation and resilience, and also our tree canopy, kind of meeting our tree canopy goals as well. So that's really a lot of the key of why we're focusing on low residential areas. So next slide, Nick. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, our ability to improve, our stormwater management and meet our tree canopy goals, these low residential zoning districts are really critical for that in terms of, kind of managing our development and trying to achieve those environmental goals. So that's really kind of the background on why the study is focusing in those areas. So. Next slide.
Eileen, Lauren should have one more poll question for us.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm launching it now. Approximately how much of Arlington County is zoned in a residential district? It was on a couple slides back, if you recall. Looks like everyone's getting it right. Mm-hmm. So it's 49%.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. So we just wanted to talk a little bit as well about trees. One of the key goals, with this study is to help the county, achieve our tree canopy goals. I think the county currently is about 30%, 35% with our tree canopy. We have a goal of 40%. And, we have a lot of programs and efforts, working towards achieving that goal, which helps, in sort of a lot of different areas in terms of, our air quality and managing heat island and providing shade. And, there's just a lot of benefits, to our trees and kind of improving our tree canopy. But again, these larger trees, do need, a larger amount of space, and also they need contiguous space on lots. So as as we have kind of impervious area increasing, that can kind of divide up the space that's available for trees. And then in addition, you have other needs on lots as well, like stormwater mitigation we talked about. We have to kind of be able to fit that in somewhere. Often there are buried utilities and things. So just a lot of demands, for space. So you can see here kind of in the diagram, there are some of the larger structural roots for the trees, but then the trees also have, a wide area of other types of roots, to absorb and take up water. So just because there's pervious area on a lot, not all of it is able to support trees. So one aspect of this study, is to look at kind of minimum plantable areas and trying to, take that into consideration. Is that something that we might want to, to add into our zoning ordinance, kind of to make sure that there are large enough spaces for these trees. And one other key point related to this is that, it's really important, with this goal of the 40% tree canopy. In some areas of the county, obviously, we're not able to achieve that 40%. So other areas, we'll need to go beyond the 40%, to kind of balance out. So really, again, the lower density areas are really critical, to provide this space, and kind of have these areas where we can have these larger trees. So next slide.
Eileen, it looks like Cynthia has her hand up. And I know we have some other questions in the chat, which we'll get to those. But Cynthia, did you have something? You're on mute.
Sorry, it took me a while to get my mic. I'm sorry, I threw my question in the chat. You had posted the statistic that now 49% is low density in the county, and I just wondered if you said it. I didn't pick it up. How has that changed over time? I mean, is it? I don't think it's going up, but maybe, is it going down, and how rapidly is it going down? Do you know that, or is that the dumbest question you ever heard?
No, there's no dumb questions. I think we're all learning and understanding.
No
here.
dumb
So,
questions.
yes, I believe that's the percentage of area that's as zoned as low residential. So I don't think that has really changed dramatically. But Nick is our zoning expert here. So
yeah, for this was, oh my gosh, Cynthia, right?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, Cynthia, I don't have that figure at the tip of my tongue, but I am confident that Eileen's correct in that it's been essentially flat. We're, certainly Arlington hasn't gained ground, and Arlington, I feel confident has not taken sort of commercial and industrial areas and rezoned them for R8, R10, what have you. And so pretty flat. If there's been any change, it might be a minuscule decrease for a property that was put into a different zoning district for some particular reason. I can't think of a good example of that off the top of my head, though. So I feel pretty confident that it's been fairly flat.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking there are occasions where the county has purchased residential lots, to add to park areas. But again, I think that would be a fairly small amount. Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. No worries. Yeah, we just have a few more slides, and I do see folks putting questions in the chat. So we'll definitely, we'll go through all those and discuss. So, but we'll just kind of wrap up because we may we may address some of your, yeah, I'd like to get through the slides if we can before we kind of get into discussion, because some of the slides may answer some of your questions. But I do appreciate everybody's interest. So again, for the study, we're really kind of trying to balance, two primary considerations, in terms of getting, better management with our impervious area, for those stormwater tree canopy benefits. And then in addition, it can have individual property owner benefits, because there can, we do hear issues sometimes with lot-to-lot drainage problems, kind of localized drainage problems, if there is, a kind of excessive amount of imperviousness on one lot that, can cause issues sometimes for adjacent properties. So, but then trying to balance, creating this impervious area limit with flexibility, for property owners and their individual uses on their lots. So that's kind of the sort of the sweet spot we're trying to find. So next slide. So just a little bit about the timeline. We've kind of outlined, 3 phases for the study. And as I mentioned, it will go through the end of 2026. So this first phase is really trying to share information about the study and kind of providing, some of the information that we have at the, on the county side in terms of impervious area trends and the tree canopy information, plantable area, some of those details. So we can all kind of go into this, with good information and understanding sort of the purpose of the study. And then following, we'll be doing a lot of that this fall. We have, a number of engagement events planned. Also, some open house events will be coming up. We'll have some more, data that we'll be sharing there. And then going into the winter and spring, really trying to focus more specifically on what options, we might be looking at for these impervious area limits, and then doing additional engagement, next year, likely in, kind of spring, summer timeframe, as we focus in a little bit more on, what particular options we might be considering for impervious area. And then moving towards the fall and winter, with developing, kind of honing in on a recommended option, and then looking at what the zoning amendments and things might be. So that's really kind of gives you an idea of the general timeline for the study. And then I think the next slide has some of our engagement again. Actually, I'm going to hold off. We can take a look at this. I think we'll just maybe get through the other slides, and then we can take a look at the mapper maybe as part of our discussion. But we have identified this as an involved level of engagement, and we're going to be doing, a number of different types of events. As you can see here, multiple opportunities, different times, different venues, different options, sharing information through a lot of the county channels. If you go to the next slide, I think we have some of the events highlighted on there. Just in terms of how you can participate, obviously, it's great you guys were able to join us today. We will have some upcoming events. We'll be at some community events, and then we are planning 2 open house events. And in addition to that, we'll probably have a virtual version of the open house as well. So we stay tuned for kind of the exact dates and locations for there. But if you haven't subscribed either to the Building and Planning e-news or Stormwater Utility Updates, those are 2 county newsletters, and we'll be sharing, some more specifics on events and things through those, also through some of the other key county channels, and then on our website as well, which I think Lauren had just shared there. So, okay. So I think that's all we have for slides. So maybe we can circle back to, I know we have some questions in the chat. So let's see, we touched on Cynthia's question already. I see Barb, and I know, so the gentleman with your hand up, would you want to go ahead and ask your question? You've been very patient, so then we can go through the chat questions.
Sorry, this is Bill Richardson. Is that it? Are you referring to me or
Yep.
somebody
I
else?
see your hand up. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey there, Bill Richardson.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. Obviously, for the benefit of those who are on the call, just wanted to make folks understand that there is a very diverse group of 22 now civic associations that have for years been meeting with county board members and staff as to why this approach misses the elephant in the room, which is the widespread concern about building footprints, which this study assiduously avoids looking at. And in light of the commitment that the county board made to do a lot coverage study based on extensive public input 5 years ago, the timeline is way too long for the public engagement. But I won't waste the time with this group on that question. I just wanted to let folks know that there is substantial concern about the inadequacy of this change, this detour that the staff has persuaded the county board to do. What I would like you to do, and we have a July 25th letter to the county board that has never been responded to. One of our requests for public engagement was to put on this website all of our many letters describing why this is an inadequate approach. So I'd put that out there as a request. And I have one other question. This is referred to as a low residential study. I believe you mean, but I'm not sure, low density residential study.
Mhm.
But I don't know what you mean by low density residential study. These are districts currently, the only density allowed and the only thing our group is focusing on is single family homes, which is, in our view, the big problem, which, as you know, I have been talking to county board members for almost 10 years.
Mhm.
So are you talking about single family homes, which is what you alluded to before?
Sure, yeah. Well, there were several questions, I think, and kind of incorporated there. So yeah, just in terms of your last question, the low density residential or the low residential area, it's really kind of the zoning category. So that's why we are including that. In the title of the study. And so at this point, we are also including single family attached duplexes and townhouses. Just again, as part of the study, it doesn't mean that we would set limits for everything, but we are including those types of homes in the study as well. So, and yeah, we appreciate your other comments. I think in terms of the focus, I mean, the study will be looking at the footprint, obviously, of homes. I mean, in terms of an overall impervious area limit. I mean, that does include, the footprint of a home and other impervious surfaces on the lot as well. So,
Well, maybe I misunderstood, but you were very clear in the slides, and you've been very clear since February, I believe, that you will not be looking at building footprints. So you won't be knowing whether what you do here has an effect on building footprints or not, because you won't be looking at that.
okay, and maybe
Sure, I
we're
understand. Everybody understands that what is encompassed by impervious surface includes the footprint of the house, among other things. But
Mhm.
you have said you are not going to look at the impact of what you are doing on building footprints, which is the big concern Arlingtonians have.
Okay. All
Mr.
right.
Is
Richardson,
am I
thanks for your
missing the point
comment.
there?
Mr. Richardson, thank you
Yeah.
for your comment. We have a lot of other questions I'd like to get to. So thank you so much. And
Could
I'm
you
so glad you're
answer
here
my
today.
questions, though? Nick, could you answer my questions, particularly about putting our studies and analyses on the website?
Here's what I can answer, Mr. Richardson. So number one, you mentioned that staff had persuaded the county board to formulate the charge in that way. That's a falsehood and that's not true. And I want this group to make sure that that's known. The county board has directed the manager through that study charge, which is pasted on our website. So number one. And number two, we'll take your request into consideration to post the community analysis that you've described onto the LRS website. Thank you for sharing that request.
All right.
Let's go to I think at the top of our chat, Eileen, we have I'm looking to see if there's anything. Let me just go all the way to the top here.
Yep. I think we were on Barbara's question. How is the study focused on impervious area different from looking at lot coverage overall? And so, we did talk a little bit about this. The main difference is that lot coverage actually does not include all impervious surfaces or paved surfaces on a lot, even though it kind of sounds like it should. But there's an exemption for paved surfaces or hard surfaces that are below 8 inches. So things like walkways and patios and things do not count under kind of the current lot coverage requirements. So sometimes properties are built, to the lot coverage maximum, and then additional impervious area is added, which goes above kind of what the maximum is for that lot. But some of those areas aren't counted as lot coverage. So I know that can be a little bit confusing. So just to answer Barbara's question there. And then Jerry had a question: how will the study be able to maintain its focus in the face of board and developers' interest in increased residential density, missing middle, auxiliary housing units, construction, low-income housing? So, Nick, I don't know if you want to jump in on that. I think, obviously, I think with a lot of things in the county, we don't always have the luxury of sort of focusing only on one issue. We have a lot of issues that we have to balance kind of all the time. So we will still, continue to trying to be, expanding housing and, dealing with addressing affordable housing and things. But some of those initiatives, are, focused more in different types of zoning districts. So I think, the board, I know, has heard about this issue a lot from the community. And so that's really why they have asked us to undertake this study. And so, I think with many things in the county, we have to kind of deal with multiple issues at the same time. Sometimes, they can be a little bit in conflict, but that doesn't mean that we can't, find a good solution. So Nick, I don't know if you have anything you want to add on that. But.
Yeah, forgive me for I'm sort of furiously scrolling through the chat and not find. I wanted to just sort of relook at the question one more time. I saw it previously.
Okay, it's from Jerry at 1222.
1222. There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Maintain some boring density. Yeah, it's I don't know if I have anything else to add from what you've said, Eileen. Our study charge is pretty laser focused and straightforward, and so if there were some sort of change to, for example, the current regulations around accessory dwellings, how large they can be, what sort of footprint they can have, and what have you, or current evolution on different types of housing that could be permitted in lower density residential areas. One consideration for that follow-on work would be, are the counties, again, this is presuming the board adopts the study recommendations and takes action on them. One important question for those studies would be, how does, how do the impervious area limits that are adopted, are they just, do they stay the same? And so, or is there some sort of allowance that would allow an exception of some sort to go above and beyond? Not a question that we'll be answering with this study, but it would be alongside that type of work in looking in those lanes at those housing types. So.
Okay, thank you, Nick. I'm
Eileen,
going
it looks like there's a couple questions above Barbara's we may have missed from Alice and Shelby. It says, could you please explain how it only applies to new impervious area and not the entire lot? Does that include subsequent actions on folks' yards after certificate of occupancy, like future large patios, for example?
Sure. So yeah, Alice, sorry, I saw that earlier and then lost track of it. But yeah, so what Nick was talking about with the land disturbing activity permit, that basically requires stormwater treatment for new impervious area. So it does not, if a property is redeveloped, you compare kind of the size of the older home to the new home, and then the stormwater management is required for the new areas of imperviousness. And so that really comes through the state stormwater management regulations. So that is different, than what we're talking about here with potential impervious area limits. So that, this would apply, to the entire lot. And so it would include, again, those subsequent additions of imperviousness, after the home is completed. That's, kind of our challenge right now, because under lot coverage, those are not included. So really this impervious area limit the goal is to try to kind of create an overall limit that will, address everything. So,
Thank you, Eileen.
Okay.
And then Brooke, I know
then-
you've had your hand up. I'm just going to ask this one question from Shelby, and then we'll get to you. What percentage is best practice for impervious area?
I mean, that's a good question. I think some of that we're going to be looking at, through the study. So one thing we will be doing is a number of other locations in Virginia have also established impervious area limits. So we're going to be, looking at that, doing some benchmarking. But, we also are going to be looking at, impacts from, potential different options for impervious areas. So I don't know that there's, a specific number. It may, kind of vary by community, also kind of dependent with lot size, but those are some of the things that we'll be looking at as part of the study. And then as we get into phase 2, where we have potential options for the limits, then that will be something that we'll be trying to look at kind of the pros and cons, or, what are we getting kind of the best results, from those different levels. So.
Yeah, Eileen, I would sort of add on to what you're saying, that we know beyond a certain percentage for Arlington that there are harms and that there are real challenges for lot to lot drainage, managing flood risk and what have you. And so the percentage, I think I would anticipate that we would show, I'm sure we'll be thinking about what those scenarios would be, certainly in phase 2, that, in certain conditions, a certain amount of impervious area would have this outcome versus a certain amount of impervious area may have a more beneficial or more harmful outcome. So there isn't, like you said, there isn't necessarily something in a manual that's like, here is the standard best practice. It's nuanced and based on a lot of different, unfortunately, complex factors.
Thanks, Eileen and Nick. I think John's question is next in the chat, but Brooke, I know you've had your hand up for a while. If you want to come off mute, you can let us know.
Yes, thank you.
Hey there, Brooke.
Heather Shilga, I'm here with Brooke, and we have a committee in Ashton Heights that is working on
There is an awful echo. Can you please fix that?
I don't think it's on our end. Does somebody else have this open?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the source is. It's hard
Our
to say.
study is, our question is in the chat. It has not been addressed yet. It
Okay.
was posed at 12:24.
Okay.
We would appreciate
I see
explanation as to why this study has taken consideration of changes to lot coverage off the table. And that's what your slide 6 said.
Okay.
So we're
Yep.
having trouble understanding that.
Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, we are working our way through the questions, so I think we will get to that in a moment. Let me see. I think we were on John's question, we said.
Yes, and then Brooke, your question's right after, so we'll get to that after John's.
Okay, sorry, got lost John's question here. Okay, here we go.
1224.
So how will the limits work for properties and HOAs that have underground storage tanks for stormwater management? So, I think we will look at that. Again, if you have an underground storage tank, that doesn't really, that wouldn't be necessarily included in, as an area of impervious area. So, again, it's something you kind of have to look at for the whole property. But again, that would be something that would be kind of separate from what we're talking about here, I think. So anyway, we can let us know if you have additional questions. So Brooke was asking about why the study is not considering changes to lot coverage and looking at impervious area. And one of the yep.
No, I was gonna share something from the study charge, and I think we'll just put a direct link to the study charge because several of our questions have devoted to that. So at the bottom of page 2 of the study charge, let me just go ahead and do that now, so that anyone who wants to look at that can follow along.
Sure, but I did want to just note, Brooke, I think one of the key factors is that now that we have the stormwater utility, we have obviously very detailed impervious area data for the entire county. And we do not have comparable data like that countywide, that's tracked for lot coverage. So in terms of figuring out how to set a limit and having good information that we can analyze throughout the county, we have that for impervious area now. And again, lot coverage, I think, is something that's typically, reviewed and looked at, as plans come in, but it's not something that we have that countywide data on. So that's definitely a factor, in how we, design the study here. So, and Nick, correct me if I'm misstating that, but.
Well, lot coverage is a zoning requirement. Impervious area is a hard surface that prevents absorption of water into the soil. And so rather than focusing on the zoning requirement, the focus has been on the actual impervious cover itself. And per the study charge, the board's charge and direction to us is somewhat specific. There may be some arguments here as to how specific it is in saying that by excluding, focus on main building footprints, heights, changes to the lot coverage from the charge directly, the rationale not to include the above components is based on the study's focus on stormwater and tree canopy impacts, which are driven primarily by the total impervious footprint and its configuration. So that's from the study charge, and that's how we're proceeding forward with the study.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Thank you. It looks like John clarified his question in the chat a little more. He said, what I meant was whether the limit would be less restrictive for HOAs that have underground stormwater management facilities.
Short answer is we don't know.
Yeah, I think
we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
That's
I think I think the primary focus of phase 2 will be what is an appropriate impervious limit that balances those individual needs and the environmental needs. You remember that sort of seesaw slide, I think best sort of articulates that balance. And then so after that point, what are the sort of by the ways and the potential exceptions or inclusions or different considerations. And so that could be one consideration or example that's kept in mind. Well, if my lot or my homeowners association, not that we have an incredible amount of homeowners associations in the sort of legal sense in Arlington, in our low density residential areas, if we have some sort of modification that we've done to enhance our ability to manage stormwater and reduce flood risk, how does that factor into how much impervious area we could or could not have? I think that's a phase 2 question that's something that we could address in phase 2. So good question.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to try. I see Kate, I saw your hand, but I'm going to, I want to just get, I know folks have been kind of waiting that have put some of their questions in the chat. So let me just touch on a few of those and then we'll circle back to Kate's question. So Cynthia had asked about tracking tree canopy over time. How has it changed and what qualifies as a tree that provides canopy? So I did put in the chat the county's recent tree canopy report, which looks at tree canopy over time, and there are some, great maps and tools in there. And we do actually have a definition for, the types of trees that are considered canopy trees versus understory trees. So I think that information is also available on the webpage. But if I can find the link, I will share that shortly. We will post the slides on the low residential website after the presentation. Just kind of hitting a few of these questions here. When would the LRPC meetings be? I think we have one scheduled already for October, so those would likely be occurring during the process, not necessarily at the end, but we are kind of considering using LRPC as a way to, share information with some of the key commissions, that would, have interest in this study. So that is something, that would likely happen, more than once. So, and then Shelby's question in terms of a process for creating these impervious area. We are doing some benchmarking with other communities, so we'll probably have more information soon about sort of their process in terms of creating impervious area limits. So, I mean, one key factor we had in terms of our engagement, I know, there was, some concern about the time frame for engagement is that, this study is potentially going to be creating an impervious area limit that will affect a lot of properties. And so we want to allow time to make sure that people are aware of the study and, can participate. So we don't want there to be concern about kind of rushing through something and people not having heard about it. So that's again kind of how we're sort of formulating the study. So and then in terms of building footprint, I think there may be a little bit of maybe different definition in terms of what people are thinking of with the footprint, because the building footprint is part of the impervious area on a property. So that would be included, as part of the total impervious area, that would be considered as part of a limit. So I'm not sure if I think folks might be thinking of other aspects of kind of the building, but definitely the sort of footprint of it in 2 dimensions is something that would be part of this and would be included in terms of the impervious area, which I think Alice was referencing there as well. So let's see, John's question, how does the limit compare to increasing the stormwater utility fee more steeply than linearly with the percentage of it? So thinking about using the stormwater utility fee, I think that's your question, John, maybe as more of a control, looking at that in those respects. So really the stormwater utility fee, the way that is set up is, to pay for the stormwater program. And so it's really driven by the costs of the program and not necessarily, kind of a policy management type of tool. And so that's, there are sort of legal factors in terms of how the utility is defined. So
what is going on?
Oh, someone is, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah. Okay, so just Brooke, is there a possibility that lot coverage restrictions will be eliminated in their entirety through any county effort in addition to this one? I think that is a possibility. I think that was also described
in the charge.
In the charge, yeah. So It might not be immediately, but as we, if the county board, chooses to move ahead with creating this impervious area limit, then it may turn out that the lot coverage, becomes a little, maybe, less necessary because we have
Redundant.
redundant.
Yeah, redundant.
Yep. Yep, we will post the slides. We can post them this afternoon. Let's see, regardless of overall impervious areas, it seemed like huge houses are being built on small lots, and that is the problem. So yeah, that's, definitely, I mean, that's part of the,
Barbara's right.
yep, the focus of the board. I mean, they have heard that feedback and that concern from the community. And so that is really why, they have asked us to do this study and are looking at this, this consideration. And then, where we kind of choose to set the limit. I mean, that's something that we'll be, engaging with all of you on as well. Someone asked about, I think we've talked a little bit about, non-conforming properties. So obviously, wherever we set the limit, properties that are above that, would then become non-conforming properties, in terms of their zoning. So that is, one consideration that we will be kind of, in combination with a lot of factors that we'll be looking at in terms of where we want to establish the limit, and that the board would be taking into consideration as well. So, okay.
Eileen, should we go
Yep.
to, forgive me.
Kate,
and go
Kate,
to-
you want to go to
It's
your
Kate.
question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Eileen.
Mhm.
I appreciate some of the work we've done together in the past.
Sure.
I gotta say, I'm a little baffled by this, and I'm not a stupid person, but we're not talking about building footprint, but we are talking about buildings, and so the definitions and the parameters of this study, I find, I'm a civic association president. There is no way I can explain to my members what the heck you're doing. Okay. So somewhere the language has to be improved. Secondly, in the meantime, the study is going on. All these houses are continuing to be built. There's no requirement to, or no, not even an effort to look at the building footprint. So you're going to play catch up. You're going to continue to lose these surface areas and not be able to catch up. So I don't understand the logic of the study itself, and I don't understand why the efforts that Bill Richardson mentioned earlier are just being put aside and not addressed. So as county staff people, I know you're smart people, but I'm not in a position to take what you're giving me and help people understand what's going on. So something is not connecting here in this rollout. So I would asking you to go back and look at all these questions. And I know I'm not alone because I see a lot of questions in the chat that people are having the same questions I'm having. Okay, so something is not adding up to people. And what I see is a lot of staff effort by smart people on the staff, which is you and Nick, addressing a very minor part of the problem. That's that's my takeaway from this. Okay, so I throw it back to you. Help us out here.
Okay. No, I mean, I appreciate the feedback. And, again, this is, what as we start engagement, we see where people's questions are and, what is not making sense and, how we can better explain things. So, I mean, this is all, all very valuable. Again, in terms of the building footprint, I'm, I guess I have to say I'm a little bit baffled in terms of how maybe you all are understanding that, but the building footprint, would be part of the impervious area that would be limited. So it's not like you're getting an exception and we're limiting other impervious areas on the lot. The building footprint is impervious area. And so if you set a limit at, say we set a limit at 45 or, whatever, part of that would be your building on the property. So, again, if we weren't necessarily clear about that, I apologize, but we will continue, and maybe, Brooke, we can have a conversation and see what might be more helpful, to, as we kind of move out and try to share this, with the community. We're happy to talk to anyone and kind of, get a better understanding of where confusions are. Just a few other questions in the chat. Will future engagement events include the county manager or board members? I think that's very likely. Obviously, we can't, speak for the board members, but as I know, they are, very interested in the study, and so we are hoping that they will be able to join us. So, let's see. I'm just trying to read other questions here. Can we define a walkway? The confusion there is that under the lot coverage definition, walkways and patios are not included as lot coverage. Under stormwater utility, they are included as impervious area. So I think some of the confusion here, again, it is confusing because you sort of think by definition, anything on your lot that's covering the land would be lot coverage, but under the zoning definition, there are, some exemptions. So walkways and patios, because of their, height, are not counted as lot coverage, in terms of your lot coverage maximums for your property. So, okay. I think Susan, I think there's a question. I'm just looking through other questions in the chat here. So.
Sure.
Mhm.
I'm just about to put this in the chat too. I think the confusing part, at least for me, is the statement at the end of the study where it says, the study will not recommend changes, and I apologize if this was addressed earlier, but recommend changes to the existing main building, recommend any absolute total square footage limits for lot coverage. I mean, we already know there's an issue with, 10,000 square foot lots in an R6 zone. It seems like an obvious thing to address, but it says the study's not going to address any of that.
No,
Can you talk to that?
Sure, yeah. So it would create a total limit for the property. So it wouldn't necessarily say that you can have this limit for the house and this limit for the patio. So it would be a total impervious area limit for the property. And then, it's up to the property owner, how they would choose, to, kind of use their impervious area for their property.
Okay, so if you're in a property where right now it's 56, you're allowed 56% lot coverage, would this study come back and say, 56 impervious, coverage on any lot is not acceptable? We are changing 56 down to 40.
Yeah, so
we're not prepared to speculate on what those percentages are right now.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, if you said, 56 is too big, we're going to recommend 40. It seems like that would be a change in the building size, right?
Yeah,
because
so
right
again,
now they can do
basically-
56, and you're saying no, that's too big. In the future, it's going to be 40.
Yeah. And the current lot coverage is really includes the building and the driveway, in terms of sort of the areas, and then again, I know there are,
Okay,
some
so your statement that says, I will not recommend changes to the existing maximum main building footprint, that's not completely true. Because if you studied the 56% area and said, no, it really needs to be 40, then you are recommending changes to the existing maximum main building footprint.
Well, again, I think we're not going to be making changes, to those lot coverage requirements, but we may, in effect, by creating this limit, this impervious area limit, that may sort of functionally, do some of those same things. And again, Nick, correct me if I'm misspeaking there, but.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I got to turn back my people so I know who talk. I only see the SL. It's Susan.
Oh,
Susan, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you once again for and this. So, you know, as we're sort of beginning to get to our close, again, thank you for everyone for coming and sharing these many questions. Some of them are pointed, some are, you know, we are confused, and I just want everyone to know that Eileen and I are hearing you, and amongst many goals with this study is to eliminate that confusion so that everyone can get to a point where they say, okay, I understand what the county study is about, and then now that I understand it, I can suggest, I can oppose, I can support, I can do what I want. But we, you know, step 0 is to make sure as much as we can that folks can understand. And so I think without sort of beating the dead horse, like Eileen said, you know, phrased differently, if I were to phrase the board's charge to us differently, the study's focus is going to be on the totality of impervious area, the totality of what can be added of these examples on a lot, because the totality of impervious area is really what needs to be the focus in order to have better stormwater management and tree canopy outcomes. By having a la carte conversations about main building footprint, you know, pools, accessory sheds, some of the you know, walkways and patios and what have you, it sort of, it distracts from the overall conversation and the overall challenge that the real villain is the constant creep of impervious surface in totality, not just from one individual type of feature. Yes, you know, the size of buildings growing larger, we all know that, and so the size of buildings growing larger is adding to that impervious area. But I think what I'll do, Eileen, is I'll go back to the previous slide on slide 4, and so, you know, I'll leave our viewers to make their own conclusions on whether this building is you know, small or large, proportional to the lot. But any 5th grader can take a look at this, Susan, and see that the area sort of along the driveway that snakes into the patio and back there, there's not much green that's left. And so it's the totality of everything that we see in this image here on this slide. This is an Arlington County house. I don't have the address off my head, on the tip of my tongue. It's the totality that is really the focus of the study, as opposed to the a la carte components.
Okay.
And we haven't done a good job of explaining that today. So thank you for hanging in with us.
No, we
you might want to
appreciate it.
just update that, you know, when you say this will not do, because I think a lot of people are interpreting it when you say we're not touching this, then you're not really doing the totality. So I appreciate that. If you can stress totality, everything's on the table, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback. And then I think there were additionally a couple questions. I think we should get a little bit more to kind of enforcement and sort of implementation. And obviously, you know, we haven't sort of figured all that out as well. I mean, that will be part of our study. In addition, you know, in terms of, broke your question about building a huge house, you know, or kind of people building to the maximum and then doing additional small projects. But you know, that will be part of what we were looking, you know, at in terms of how this will be implemented and you know, potential enforcement and inspections and things. But we do have you know, that's the benefit with the stormwater utility, is that we have, you know, very kind of refined information, you know, now on impervious area, you know, on all the lots and you know, changes, you know, as they occur. So that will, you know, be useful in terms of the implementation. So, okay, I think we do kind of need to wrap it up. I'm just sort of looking through here to see if there's any other questions that we haven't touched on. Let's see. And I do understand, you know, folks are curious, you know, why not changing lot coverage. And again, as I mentioned, you know, we don't really have lot coverage information, countywide. I mean, in terms of analyzing that, and kind of figuring out how to set a limit. So I think the focus was with this new, with the new stormwater utility and the, better impervious area information that we have, was to use that and kind of move in that direction. So will we be making an effort to engage builders? We will, we do have kind of the development community as part of our, stakeholders and outreach, and we will be, be including them as well in terms of our engagement plan. So, okay, and I see the questions about the fact that we do have lot coverage data, and all I can say is that, my understanding is that we do not have that countywide. It's not something that we have in a database or that is tracked countywide. It's something that can be looked at individually for a property, but we do not have that information countywide like we do now for impervious area. So again, that's why we are using impervious area as our metric really for this study. So anyway, but I do want to thank everyone. This is you've given us a lot of great questions and feedback, and we will be posting the slides on the website and also the video. And we've started developing some frequently asked questions, and some of your information here will be really, really useful as well for, kind of adding to those FAQs and helping kind of develop better information, to share with the community. So, Nick, any closing comments or?
No, just again, really grateful for folks' time. Eileen, I heard a lot of concerns. I heard confusion. I heard questions about wanting to learn more and understand about the confusing aspects, the complex aspects of it. Several questions that I expected we would get, others I didn't. And so we have our work cut out for us, and I hope folks will continue to stick with us and engage with us and work with us over the course of the remainder of this year and into next year. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Yep.